It's Christmas and it's time to break out the Nativity. The manger, the baby, the star, the Magi, all present. Or were they? Is the Nativity a single event frozen in time or pieces of a bigger picture? Let's find out. What you don't know about the Nativity. What does the Nativity mean? The word nativity comes from the Latin navitas, which means arisen by birth. The Nativity as a concept was conceived in 1223 by the Roman Catholic friar Francis of Assisi, the Francis in San Francisco. It was his way of making the real meaning of Christmas known to the masses, and also as a form of worshiping Jesus. What was the Star of Bethlehem? The star that led the Magi to Jesus for worship and tribute is a subject of great debate. It could have been a star or a combination of stars, or even a supernova. Some even suggest that it was a collective of angels. Regardless, it was prophecy that led the Magi to the star, and that's what really matters. It's not what the star was, but rather where it led to. If you're still being puzzled, we'd like to recommend The Star of Bethlehem, presented by Rick Larson. This is some really good food for thought. Was Jesus born in the winter? Consider that December is a cold, wet winter in Israel. It is now, and it was then. So the weather outside was truly frightful. So there was no way that the shepherds were in the field and watching their flocks by night, simply because it was too cold. So if not December, if not winter, then when? We flip back our Bible pages to John the Baptist's father Zechariah. Now Zechariah was a priest in the course of Abiah, whose turn to serve in the temple was in mid-June. Add 9 months to this, the pregnancy of Elizabeth, and you end up in the spring, in the month of March. Now if you add an additional 6 months to that, which is the age difference between John and Jesus, you end up in the month of September, which is also around the time of the Feast of Tabernacles. So Jesus was most likely born in autumn. Who were the Magi? The Magi came from the east, which means they could have come from anywhere from Babylon to as far away as China. But we actually find our answers in Babylon, specifically the time when the Medes and the Persians ruled the land. Now the Medes as a culture consisted of 6 tribes. One of those tribes was the tribe of the Zoroastrian priests, who were known as the Magi. Think the Levites in ancient Israel. The Magi tribe are accredited for being the founders of astrology and magic. Let's fast forward to the days of Daniel, who eventually becomes royal interpreter of dreams, seer of visions, the chief magus of the kingdom, aka overseer of the Magi. But wait, Magi equals magician equals what? Not too many people can imagine a magician having the desire to come worship Jesus, but this is where Daniel comes in. As the chief magus who proved his loyalty to Yahweh through words and action, Daniel, over the span of several administrations and the appreciation of several big kings such as Nebuchadnezzar and Darius the Great, was bound to gain to himself the loyalty and ears of his fellow Magi. Maybe not every Magi, but enough to have his teachings carried over through the centuries. So we come full circle to the Magi of the Nativity, who, following the Jewish prophecies, most likely taught to them by Daniel, and through the study of stars, which is, after all, what they did best, we have an undisclosed number of Magi tracking the movements of a certain star over a little town in ancient Judea. How many Magi were there actually? The Bible doesn't actually say one way or another. Tradition holds that there were 3 Magi, one for each gift brought to Jesus. So if you say 3, you might be right. But if you were to say, let's say 12, you're not wrong either. The reality is nobody knows. Rule of thumb, if God don't say it in the Bible, it don't really matter. In other words, it's not important how many Magi there were, only that the Magi were there. Oh, and the Bible never mentions the Magi by name either, so Melchior, Gaspar, and Balthasar are pretty much Christian fan fiction. So, yeah. When did the Magi come? Believe it or not, the Gospel of Matthew is the only recorded account of the arrival of the Magi. The book of Luke only records the activity of the shepherds. The Magi didn't even come to the manger, but rather showed up at the house where they were staying more than 2 years after Jesus was born. We know this because Herod orders his men to kill every child in Bethlehem 2 years or younger. Why are the gifts of the Magi important? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Everybody knows this, but what's the point? Well, each gifts are tributes given to the newborn king, and each has a meaning. The popular Christmas song We Three Kings gives us a clue in its last verse. Glorious now behold him arise, King and God and sacrifice. Gold is pretty self-explanatory as it is traditional gift of tribute to a king, but frankincense and myrrh is where we all give a collective what? Frankincense is one of the 4 precious spices used in the incense that burned in the golden altar of incense day in and day out at the Holy Tabernacle. Scripture tells us that this was a pleasing aroma to the Lord, linking frankincense directly with the worship of God. Now myrrh was one of the ingredients used when making the oil of holy anointment as described in Exodus 30:23. However, myrrh was also used in the embalming process by the Jews when preparing a dead body for the grave, which is exactly what happens years later when Mary, Salome, Mary Magdalene, and the other women prepared Jesus' body for entombment. So each of the 3 gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, serve as a foreshadowing of the Christ child's destiny to come, King, God, and sacrifice.
Bonus round.
What's the deal with Xmas?
In the last years, there's been a whole lot of hullabaloo about keeping the Christ in Christmas. Because of this, the term Xmas is almost taboo in Christian circles today. But did you know that Xmas as a statement is uber Christian? Actually, Xmas is a very clever way of keeping Christ in Christmas. Let's see why. Let's spin back the wheel of time one last time to the Roman Emperor Constantine and his now famous dream vision. On a night before the Battle of Milvian Bridge against Maxentius, Constantine has a dream where in the sky he sees a particular symbol and hears a voice that says, "In hoc signo vinces." I probably butchered that. Anyways, it means in this sign conquer. That sign went on to be known as the Chi Rho. These are the Greek letters C and R overlapping each other. Well, the Chi Rho goes on in history to become a universal Christian symbol, the same way you would see a fish symbol on a car bumper or the NOTW sticker slapped on the back window of a Ford Expedition. And this is where Xmas comes in. The X in Xmas is actually the Greek letter C representing the word Christos or Christ before the Mass part, which by the way is missing an S. So Xmas comes to be an officially sanctioned Christian abbreviation for the term Christmas. Well, we hope this video has cleared up any misconceptions or controversies over the Nativity. The Nativity is a collage of events surrounding the birth of Jesus, not a still frame or screen capture as the outsider or even many believers mistake it as such. Got it? Good. Now go off and have a Merry Christmas. God bless. I want to give a big thanks to our good friend Ryan Van Dusen who helped us assemble this video. Perhaps you just might see or hear from Ryan very soon on this channel. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos like this in the near future, why not subscribe to our channel? In the meantime, we'll see you in January when we will bring you our postponed Know Your Enemy video. See you then.